And I just want to welcome everyone for coming to this very special Veterans Day coffee talk. We are really excited about our speakers today, a GPAR member, of course, and a special guest from VA Rep, Matthew Pfeiffer, who will be introduced and share a lot of great information. But before we begin, just a reminder that next week we have a CIPS webinar, that is the 18th. On international buying opportunities and partnerships and some cultural expectations 101. And then that Thursday on the 20th is our general membership meeting. So with that, I will go ahead and pass the baton to our board president, Miss Annette Collier.
Good morning, everyone. I know it's Monday morning, so really appreciate you making the time to be with us. I wanted to say that I'm very proud of the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee. This year under my administration, I added the Veterans Administration. I think that they definitely are a group of people that need to be included in our real estate business as a priority, especially since they serve our country. So the person that I reached out to, knowing that he was a Navy veteran, was Vladimir Valentin. So thank you so much, Vladimir, for doing what you're doing for the DEI committee and talking about the need for housing for veterans. So very excited about today's talk. As some of you may know, Vladimir, he is a Navy veteran. And so he is also a great member of the Greater Philadelphia Association of Realtors. He has been an advocate for service members in our community today, and so that is so greatly needed and appreciated. So he is going to be assisting in the moderating of today's conversation with our guest, Matthew Pfeiffer, all the way from Idaho. I pass it over to you, Vladimir.
How y'all doing today? Since I'm going to talk a little bit about with Matthew and how he can help us out. Since Matthew, he's been with companies, moved from a new state, launched new chapters, and switched from military branches. Yet he still remains a VA rep, a part of the mission. Now a captain of the Idaho Air National Guard and co-chair of the VA Rep National Legislative Committee. He's still finding ways to assist veterans through education, mentorship, and improving veterans' lives through legislation. He and his wife, Erin, has 4 kids, 7 dogs, and one old cat. So starting off, thank you for joining us today at GPAR, Matthew. Where do you usually begin with working with veterans and navigating VA homes loans?
Well, if I could real quick, thank you for having me. And I had a question, just how many people do we have on right now? Is it 4 or 5, something like that? If there's a way to find out how many of you have been in for over, say, 15 or 20 years in real estate?
And we have about 10 people on right now.
10 people? Okay. Mm-hmm. I got a few here. How many have been in for less than 3? Is there anybody?
Couple.
Okay. So yeah, I just want to make sure I don't, I want to keep it inside, where we're looking in. And so basically with the VA program, when I start working with a veteran, the first thing I want to do is make sure they understand it, because coming out of the military or being in the military, especially, they may not know much about this program at all. So as soon as you get a hint that this person is military or has been military in the past, there's just, you want to start looking into that and finding out, are they qualified, which the percentage of people that have served and are serving qualifications is pretty high. It's hard to find somebody that's in or that's out that isn't qualified. It's pretty easy to get that way. If you look at active duty, basically you only have to serve 90 days during times of war or 180 days of active duty service during peacetime. So there's some people that have been in for a year and they're probably qualified, When it comes to guardsmen and reservists, a lot of them don't know that they're qualified. They did their time. They never have gone anywhere. They may not, feel like, oh no, I don't even know if I'm a veteran or not, whatever. But as long as they've done 6 years in one of those reserves or guard, even if they didn't deploy, they also could be qualified. And then beyond that, if you're talking with a spouse who their spouse passed away and they were military, they're qualified too if they depending on certain things. But yes, surviving spouses can still be qualified for the VA loan. And so there's a lot more people that are qualified than they think. And so that's kind of the job of the people, the realtor or the lender, to identify that if they don't come right out and say, yeah, I'm a vet, or hey, here's my LES because I'm in the military actively right now. Sometimes it's harder to find out, but doing a little research can help you find and unlock more qualified veterans. The first thing obviously is that certificate of eligibility, which that's going to determine whether or not they are qualified right then and there. That can be, the veteran can find that on the va.gov. They can pull it up themselves, or a lender has access and they can pull it up. And a lot of times, I just start talking with people, asking for their DD-214 because it has all the information I need. I can pull up that COE, the certificate of eligibility, which determines a couple of things for us. It determines their eligibility, and it also lets us know if they're going to be if they're a disabled veteran, if that funding fee is waived. And the reason that one's so key is because I found in my years of lending that a disabled veteran that does not have a funding fee is not going to find a better loan than the VA. That right there puts it over the edge of all the other ones. As long as you can find out that they're a disabled veteran, you're going to want to explore that VA option for them. And sometimes if you're dealing with the older veterans, they don't have access to that DD-214. Maybe they just got rid of it. They got out of Vietnam and they, got rid of everything. They didn't care. They haven't used the VA home loan. They just didn't want to. You can still look that stuff up. There's a form that we have, the VA form 261880, where we just have to put in all those dates and we submit that to the VA and they'll still send us that COE so we can find out that they're eligible. The next step really for me is, and this one's kind of a touchy subject for a lot of veterans, is I encourage them to look into, if they haven't already, look into getting that disability claim. And I mean, that's obviously if it's valid. There's a little bit of a turmoil over VA disability right now. You've seen, I'm sure there's somebody over at the VA that was just rubber stamping, approvals on everybody's stuff. And you've got other cases where you've got these veterans that, they get an IED, blows off one of their legs and they have no feeling in their left arm and they're still walking around with, 20% disability. And then you see these people that are perfectly fine with 100%. And so the discrepancy is there and it's kind of weird, but a lot of veterans that deserve that disability claim don't go out and find it themselves. They don't go searching for it, unfortunately. So a lot of times I will kind of, ask them, how long did you serve? Where were you, trying to get an idea of, if they would qualify, and then ask them, do you think you have any VA or military related, disabilities that you might go through the VA, that you're just waiting on? And the reason I encourage them to go start that process immediately is because, like I said, you can get qualified, or get a disability claim through in a pretty quick time, and that will save them a lot of money on that funding fee. It also, obviously gets them into a lot of other things with the VA, as far as if they're 30% disabled, they get, healthcare for life. If they're 50%, they can get their disability on top of retirement. So there's another, a lot of reasons that you want to do that. But just for instance, if just looking at a $235,000 purchase for a vet, if they were going to go 100% financed and they weren't disabled, that's a $7,700 funding fee that they would basically attach to the loan. However, if they start that claim during the process, and let's say you close the deal, close the transaction, they go into the loan, they pay that funding fee, or it's attached to the loan, but then afterwards the VA finds them disabled, there's a way that they'll retroactively go back and they'll pay their servicing company that funding fee to remove it from the loan. So it's still worth, in the beginning, acknowledge or find out if they have a disability, and if not, encourage them to go take a look at that. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much where I would start out. The other, let's see, don't know where I'd else fit this in, but
I mean, yeah. So I know there's a lot of different types of myths also that comes with this. I know one of them that I hear a lot that I come across is can you use it more than once?
mhm,
Things like that. I wanted to know if
yeah,
we can go back on talk a little bit about that.
okay, sure, yeah. So there's a lot of myths out there, and it's tough because, I mean, I'll be talking with veterans that, they don't know the truth about it. And then even worse is when you're talking with a realtor and they don't understand it, and you realize, oh man, how many veterans have you worked with that, may have gotten a better loan, but, they ended up going to FHA or conventional, putting down payments that may not have been required. So the big ones are dealing with credit, I think. Um, I don't know how many times maybe, and you've probably heard this from lenders, that they don't qualify because of their credit. And the sad thing there is that that's not a VA requirement. That's an overlay from that lender. And a lot of veterans don't understand that. But the VA does not have a credit score requirement. If the lender is willing to do it, you can go, I've seen as low as 520. I mean, it's a lot riskier and there's probably some more fees involved. But when somebody says, oh, they don't qualify, they have a 628, they don't qualify. Well, that's because that lender has decided that 640 needs to be the minimum credit score or whatever they've decided. So it's good to have a few different lenders that might have, more flexibility with that credit score, because the VA is not making that determination. That's them. One of the other ones, like you just mentioned, that you can only use it one time. And there's two ways to look at this. There's veterans that think they've used it in the past, so they can't use it again. Maybe they used it and they still have that house, or they used that house, they sold it 50 years ago and they can't use it again. That's not true. The VA loan can be used repeatedly. You could buy a house, live there, sell it, use your VA loan again, use it again, do that many, many, many times. You can even buy it and keep that house and use the VA again. But there's a limit on that second use. And the way that they determine that is when you have no use right now and you have full entitlement, there's no limit on the VA home loan. So you can buy like a $2 million house with no down payment. A veteran could, as long as they qualify with their DTI. But if you want to buy a second house, they're going to figure out what the maximum is in that county. I'll get to that one in a second. Let's see. You look in the county and say, okay, if this county is an $805,000, conventional limit, what is their first house? What was their first house purchase? So a lot of times, if somebody picked up a starter home for $150,000, $200,000 back in the day on the VA, they may still be able to keep that house and rent it out and use the rest of their entitlement to buy another $500,000 or $600,000 house. So, maybe they lived in that one, they were single, they want to keep it now though. They've gotten married, they got a couple kids, they say, we need something bigger. They want to go buy that second home. They can still do that with the VA 100% finance. So, people think that, oh yeah, I've used it up, it's not there anymore. Definitely not true. Another big myth is that it's for single family residents only. And no, it can be used. It can be used for condos, it can be used for manufactured homes as long as they're on a permanent foundation. It can be used for multi-unit, 1 to 4, kind of the same as the FHA. And that's a great way for a veteran, especially, like I was saying, like a younger veteran that doesn't mind living in a unit in a duplex or a quadplex or something like that. They can make a lot of money utilizing that VA home loan right off the bat. Another one would be that maximum loan amount. Like I said, that's a tough one. A lot of people haven't heard, but a few years ago that got passed where they removed that maximum loan limit. So those old calculations of 25% over the county limit, those are gone. Like I said, if they qualify, one of my buddies, he's in the Bay Area, and he's done a post reaching out to MC Hammer, who was I think was it MC Hammer? No, yeah, I think it was MC Hammer. It was like a veteran, and he was like, hey man, if you want to buy a house, $3 million, $4 million, no down payment, go for it. Hit me up. Let's see. One of the big ones though is, and this one has a little bit of truth to it. It just depends on how long you've been in the market, and you kind of have to understand. It gets hammered because of the appraisals, and the appraisal can be viewed as something more difficult, but it's really not. And it's one of those things you got to understand, that the VA designed this loan to put veterans in houses, And there are three things: it needs to be safe, it needs to be sound, and it needs to be sanitary. And those are called the minimum property requirements. As far as safety, they just want to know, does it have handrails if it has stairs? Is the fireplace properly ventilated? Is the electric wiring up to code? Is there a heat source? They don't want to put somebody in a house and they freeze over the winter. These things, they just want to make sure it's safe, right? And we want our veterans to be in a place that's safe. Sound is in reference to obviously good condition. Does the roof have at least 5 years left in it? If this thing is dilapidated, you might have to work on getting that replaced during the transaction. Broken windows, cracks in foundations, they're going to look for stuff like that. And then sanitary is just can the person hygiene and sleep and cook and dine in that area? Does it have all those things? All it really does is it limits them to not being able to pick up fixer-uppers that are like in the process of being fixed up. Like if you walk into a house and there's no flooring, it's all subfloor, and the bathroom is totally empty, there's a hole in the ground for where the toilet needs to be, it's not going to pass VA like that. So that's when you're gonna have to start saying, okay, where are you guys in the process on this? Are you putting this stuff in right now? Is this gonna be done in the next 30 days, or you have no plans of doing that because you might have to find another place if it's in that condition? And that's a tough one because a lot of veterans are handy and they do want those fixer-uppers, but that's where you got to start just looking for. Let me see. I'm gonna pull up this question right now. Let's see. I understand. Yeah. So let's go back here. So inspections, yeah, they can be. They're going to be no harder than an FHA. And then the nice thing, the appraisal, it doesn't stick with the house like the FHA does. So I think it's a little bit better, honestly, because the appraiser operates in a different way. Could get into some more detailed stuff, but if you guys know about Tidewater and you know about basically talking to the VA and arguing the appraisal afterwards, you actually have more flexibility and more ability to fix things when it comes to that appraisal. So the Tidewater is where the appraiser reaches out and says, hey, I see that you got a value, you want this thing to come in at 250, and I just don't think it's going to make it there. Help me out. That's something that you don't get with a conventional appraisal. They're just going to come back and say, no, it's 230, figure it out. So I think that it is a myth that they're harder. I actually think that they work with you a little bit better.
Matthew, I got a question for you.
Yes, please.
So you mentioned that different lenders have different requirements, although the VA does not. I was wondering, is there like particular banks that deal specifically with the veterans, like USAA? I don't know if they do mortgages, but I know that's who
They
I
do.
have for insurance.
Oh, there absolutely are. There are many that focus, on that stuff. But again, that's even they have, different overlays. So I let's say like Wells Fargo may have a higher, they're going to want that veteran to be, I don't want to say cookie cutter, but a little bit, they've got their guidelines. They want everybody to fall in there. So their minimum might be 640 or 680 for a veteran, depending on, how they're setting it up. While you find other ones, Veterans United, Navy Fed, those guys, they're going to go down a little bit lower. So you'll want to have multiple lenders, especially when it comes to VA, somebody that might be able to go down even 580, 560, some of them can work with them. So
You mentioned the certificate. How do you get the certificate? Like back in the day in Philly, you could just walk into Wissahickon Avenue and get it. What do they do these days?
well, now it's online. So va.gov is where all the VA benefits, where you'd apply for if you wanted to file a disability claim, that's where you'd go. They've moved everything onto there, and that's the easiest way to go get the certificate of eligibility for a veteran. Once they log on, there's a place for housing and finance. They click on that and it'll say, looking to buy a house, access your COE here or apply for a COE. Sometimes they have to submit some documentation, and sometimes the VA already has that thing ready to go and they can just print it out immediately. But like I said, any lender that they work with should be able to go on and pull it also.
Great, thank you.
Mhm. So yeah, I mean, there were some other questions. Are they able to ask them or
Sure,
just
I
like that?
see here, without advertising, are there some known lenders that are able to assist?
Assist in,
I guess, Anastasia, that question, was that just in reference to assist in helping veterans find VA loans?
Yes, good morning. He kind of
Right.
answered it in Annette's question already.
Okay.
I was asking about if you guys could give us maybe a short list or just throw out a few names of known lenders
Yeah.
who have had success with working with the program.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that's the thing is, veterans. So my organization, the VA Rep, is a nonprofit, and we're all about education and financial education to veterans, trying to make sure that they understand how to get financially stable, and then from stable to housed. And we deal with a lot of people that don't know much about the VA, and unfortunately, there's kind of a gap where, with all the other benefits that the VA offers, there's so many VSOs that will support them. And in the Philadelphia, I went on to the Veterans Commission. They're all listed there. You got your VFW, federal stuff. You got local chapters. You got your DAV. If you got questions about education or anything that the other veterans benefits, they're all there. There's lots of VSOs, but there isn't one besides the VA rep. There isn't any sort of congressionally chartered one that works on finance and that VA home loan. So what you end up with is a lot of veterans assistants that say, well, if you're looking for a VA home loan, just go talk to a bank. But unfortunately, a lot of banks, that's not their bread and butter. They don't deal with a lot of VA home loans, and the lenders are usually going to go with what they're comfortable with. So, I mean, it's not uncommon to have a veteran walk into a big bank and find out that in order to buy a house, they need to have 3 to 5% down and, a 680 credit score. They're going to get all these conventional guidelines because that's what the lender is comfortable with. And that's where it's really good to have somebody that works VA, a lot. And they'll be able to help them out and not steer them into another loan.
So it sounds like our best course of action is to develop a relationship, cultivate relationship with VA reps.
Well, I mean, that's kind of where I was going to go with this next question, I think. Annette? Is she there?
I'm sorry, Matthew. Did you ask me a question?
Oh, no, I was going to go into the Veterans Advisory Commission thing.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So, the Veterans Advisory Commission was asked, does the VA rep have any advice on collaborating with local governments on additional resources, benefits for the veterans community? How do you suggest realtors serve as that bridge? That right there is one that I would honestly say I don't reinvent the wheel. VA rep we have 27 chapters in 18 states, and we don't have one in Philly. And I would be more than happy to work with anybody there that wants to get one started. Like I said, we're a nonprofit, and we serve as that bridge. And obviously, I'm not saying that the GPA can't work in that capacity, but we've been doing this a long time, like 12 years now, and we've worked with a lot of local government, a lot of local groups, and it's a great way to give back and to tie that in. Plus, you have access, and like I said, I'm in the national legislative co-chair. I work with bills to improve the VA home loan. Right now, we've got one that puts the information right in front of the veteran by adding it to a form that's already in those disclosure packets that we give to the buyer as soon as they sign up. The initial disclosures include a form called the Informed Consumer Choice, and it compares an FHA loan to a conventional loan. And what we've done in our bill is we've said, well, just add that VA loan to a veteran that marks that they are a vet, so they can see side by side those 3 loans. And the whole basis behind that is saying, well, if we can't educate everybody and we can't be in front of every veteran, we want to make sure at least those numbers get in front of them. Because when a vet starts seeing that there's no down payment, which means they get to keep that bank for the rainy day, they get to keep that down payment. When they see that they've got a little bit better interest rate, because the federal loans do have better rates than the conventional often, especially at the lower credit scores. So if I was going to compare somebody at a 620 for a conventional loan and a VA loan, the VA loan is definitely going to be a better interest rate. They're going to see that over years. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and please continue where you left off at, but our organization, we do advocate. And so, as you probably know, with the National Association of Realtors, we have a designation for people to learn more about how to do business with the veterans. So we have a new CEO, and really looking forward to working with her. And I think that what you were speaking of would be good. And I know that I personally have some relationships with some national people in Philadelphia that are in veteran positions, that could help your organization. So I would love to have a further conversation after this call. Not
Absolutely, yeah.
necessarily today, but I love what you're doing, and we must serve those who serve us.
Yeah, we work alongside all those organizations, and tied in very, very well with NAR and the other ones. Because yeah, it's just like I was saying, there's just a gap in VSOs that focus on that, and education is what we do. And that's honestly, I think, the best way that you can get this stuff out is by continuing to educate others in the industry and show them. As far as the form, like I was saying, that's legislatively something that we're hoping to get passed very soon here in the NDAA. So veterans will start seeing those numbers side by side. And the goal there was just, if they could see the benefits, that they'd start asking those questions early on in the process with whoever they're working with, saying, why do you keep telling me that I have to go FHA? I served for 8 years, and it looks like this is a better loan. And that's going to help that usage go up and help put veterans into better positions. But yeah, as far as the local stuff, they whatever you can to educate, in which I think that going in and talking even in all those other organizations, if you have connections in the VFW, if you have connections in the advisory commission, ask to give that information out there, because there's definitely veterans that don't know the VA home loan like as well as they should.
Matthew, what tips do you suggest when submitting VA loans?
So this one again is let's see. I think the biggest one is just be confident. Be confident when submitting that offer. Don't just think that, oh darn, it's a VA, it's probably going to get shuffled to the back. I don't know if we're going to stand a chance. I don't know. Maybe if you had more money down payment, something like that. Think about it like, if you're the receiving agent, what would worry you about seeing that VA home loan? And then put all those things to rest. Just make sure you let them know, hey, and the lender should be doing this too. I mean, as a lender, I call and I make sure that the offer that goes out, that the receiving agent understands these guys are highly qualified. Yes, they're doing 100%, but that's because, the VA offers it and it just makes more sense for them. If they've got cash, hey, they can still come in. If the appraisal does come in low, we'll negotiate, but it's not over. Just let them know that these people are confident. And mostly, at the end of the day, once this thing closes, it doesn't matter if that offer was VA, FHA, conventional, cash, whatnot. That seller's going to get the same amount of money, right? At least this way, they're helping out somebody that served the country. That's how I always put it. It's just, you're now helping out. You're serving the one that serves. So, I mean, there are times there have been times when cash is just, it's king, and there's no way to beat it with any loan. So, that's a tough one to overcome. But in most markets, the VA is just as competitive. So just be confident when you submit that thing, and know that, that anything that you would worry about, just let them know this is not a problem. This will go through. It will close on the same time. It will close fine. The appraisal is not going to be an issue. And that comes also to knowledge about those appraisals. And again, understanding, taking a look at that house and kind of spotting, seeing if there is anything that you think will be an issue. But if it looks good, don't cast any doubt. Just say, yeah, this is a great offer, and you're gonna be helping out somebody that serves this country.
I know you touched.
Matthew, oh, I'm sorry, Vladimir. I was dealing with a veteran, and I actually lost a opportunity because they wanted someone that was very familiar with dealing with veterans. And so I know that there'll be something coming out in terms of the NAR designation for military. But to your point, you really, when you're dealing with veterans, you really got to know about the product, and you got to somewhat, I don't want to say specialized necessarily, but they tend to want to deal with people that really are familiar with who they are. So that is a part of why this conversation is happening today. I mean, you're sharing a wealth of information, but this is how you do business with a veteran, because they are very most of them, they know what they want. They are pretty together, and so they are not going to want to deal with somebody that is not familiar with their community, so, and how to do business with them. So I really appreciate you being on the call. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Vlad.
No, I mean, I was kind of going off of what you were just saying, and I know I was trying to get a little bit of what are your suggestions, and we kind of touched on it a little bit with certifications and different things. I was trying to figure out what more can real estate agent need to do to actually educate themselves a little bit more. Like I know me, I've done the MRP certifications, I've done plenty of that stuff. And also being in the service, a lot of people on, like, for instance, I was Navy, and good thing like you were in Navy and then you did other things. So you understand like some of the lingo doesn't go across for both of us when we speak, but we understand when somebody says something about being relocated or things like that because we experienced it. But I was trying to figure out like what other things can real estate professionals probably do to educate themselves to get that confidence that you were speaking about before, to be able to talk to someone and say, hey, I know I was not in the service because most real estate agents weren't, but I'm not in the service, but what can I do for you to get you better, satisfied, and how can I help you a little bit better?
VA Rep offers a lot of that stuff actually, and so for years we were varep.net, and we've just recently switched over varep.org. So somebody out in Virginia that does something REP, I don't know, they had that one booked for a long time, but they let go, and so we've switched over to varep.org, and the website has tons of educational stuff out there, lots of videos that'll help people from. We go from how to talk to military guys, just the basics. So for, like you were saying, a lot of people haven't been exposed to that, so they kind of break it down. Hey, these are the enlisted folks. These are the officers. These are, different ranks. This is how long it takes approximately to become a master sergeant or a chief in the Navy, So this is kind of gives you an idea of that background. They teach a lot of that stuff. So when you're talking with them, you kind of know a little bit more, as well as, like I said, a lot of those specifics that I was talking about, a lot of those details, we teach all that stuff too. What to look out for on houses, the myths, a lot of myths and the truth about them. So that education, we provide that out there. But another benefit to becoming, that a chapter or a member is you can start pushing that stuff out, and we have conventions where we just had one in San Diego. Where a lot of that stuff, we had courses there teaching people not only military stuff but extra stuff about and a lot of new AI marketing and everything like that. So yeah, there's a lot of knowledge that you can find on that website. What was the question that just came up?
I see programs that pay vets taxes.
So so locally, that's another thing that is a good idea to do is to know what locally is taken care of. I think that, if I'm not mistaken, I think that you guys are in Pennsylvania, military retirement pay is not taxed, which is a pro. That's something also to be proud of. But I don't know as far as property taxes and stuff like that, where you guys land on
So
what's qualified.
But Jersey, it's 100%, and then Pennsylvania is actually, uh, there is a percentage. There is a depends on your pay.
Do they
So
tier it?
yeah, they tier it in
Yeah.
Pennsylvania. I mean
Yeah. So
Pennsylvania.
yeah, a lot of states do that where if they're 100% disabled vet, they don't pay property taxes at all, or they have a big discount. If they're 70%, it's, marked down a little bit, down to 50, 30%, they break it off, stuff like that. Not every state does that. So it's good to know those things, where you're at, and especially if you're working in multiple states, if out in that area, know where those things land. And that's something you can also work on improving, with that, the Philadelphia, Veterans Advisory and stuff like that. Local government is trying to get that stuff improved, and that's a great way to show, hey, I want to support my veterans. We're looking to, increase your benefits out here, at least, move to Philadelphia because we're gonna, cut your property taxes a little bit more if you're disabled. Anything you can do, helps vets and helps you guys. But yeah, as far
Matthew,
as
can I
Mhm.
add to that? I don't know if you know, but you probably do. The state of Pennsylvania, they tell me, has some of the largest number of veterans in the entire country. So I think that there's a lot of opportunities, for people to do seminars that are members to increase their business. I'm not sure if you are aware of that, but one of
um,
these senators told us that recently.
yeah, there's huge amounts, out in that area. And I tell you, if you guys know the national average of VA home loan usage by eligible veterans is like 13%. So that's a massive gap. And as a lender, I mean, there's going to be a few veterans that's not the best loan for them. If it's an investment property, obviously they've got to go with conventional. If there's some retired general, and they have a massive down payment and they got great credit, they might do better with a conventional than a VA side by side. It happens. But I would say for about 95% of the veterans out there, the VA home loan is the best loan for them. I mean, we're talking savings with no mortgage insurance, with no down payment. I mean, they could save $200 to $300 over conventional every month. And in this economy, that matters. So I've even done side by sides next to rentals, and there's veterans that could buy for less than the average rent on the same size house. Whereas we understand, like, if it's conventional loan, you got to pay a few $100s more than rent. You're still investing in yourself. It's still a good deal, right? But it's just win-win if a veteran can buy the house for less than what it would cost to rent. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of veterans out there that are not being served with that VA home loan, where if you know it and you know the benefits, you have access to a lot of veterans that are being steered by other realtors into conventional loans and maybe dissuaded because they don't have that down payment yet. They don't have other things. So they've been told, no, you've got to go save money. Well, you go in and talk to them and you say, no, you're ready right now. This is what the VA requires. The VA can get you in a house for a better deal and you're ready right now. That's going to, be really helpful if you know what you're talking about, if you got that information.
Great information, Matthew. I appreciate it.
Yeah, was that max, that was max percentage.
What max percentage of sellers assist can veterans get?
So there's a few different ways to break it down, but it's about 4%. A lot of times when I am working with a veteran, let's say they've only got a few $1,000s, but they want to, get into contract. And I know you got closing costs that may exceed that. I'll let the realtor know, hey, ask for 3% back, seller credit. And, sometimes that means finding a place that maybe listed a little bit less than you think and offering a little bit more. So if you see a place that would appraise for 270, but they're only asking 260, offer 265 and ask for 15,000 in seller concession. That'll cover all sorts of stuff. That'll help that veteran get into that house, keep their money in their pocket, and yeah, just get everything closed up. But yeah, 4% is where it starts. You may end up leaving money on the table depending on how they can work it into the escrow and everything else. You're muted, Vlad.
Anybody else have any more questions or anything else they want to add? Ask Matthew before. I'm sure you can leave some information too if you want to contact them.
Yeah, absolutely. Please give my my email address out. I'd be more than happy to answer any of these questions.
Good morning. My name is Charlotte Bradley. Thank you for all of this information. I just wanted to clarify with regards to the taxes. Does the form need to be completed to start the process before you apply and start going through the process, or is that something that needs to be done if you're 100% disabled through the military? Is that something that needs to be done after you purchase your home? I have a little bit of experience with a VA, and I found out through one of my clients, but he wound up passing before we can actually, submit the offer and all of that and it get accepted. He unfortunately passed away. But I was being educated through him because he's like, oh, I don't pay taxes and this and that's like, wow, that's amazing because that it will increase what you can purchase because you don't have
Right.
to pay taxes. But I'm trying to figure out, was that paperwork supposed to be submitted after you purchased the home? Because he was an existing homeowner. I'm talking about for new homeowners, or is that something that needs to be done after you purchase your home?
Um, it depends. I think some states you can, with the proof that they're 100% disabled and that they've accepted that there is no property tax, that they know it won't be there. They will actually qualify them without that in their DTI. They'll know that they don't pay taxes. But there are some states, that they have to reapply like every single time. So they will include it on their DTI, knowing that if the veteran doesn't, apply for it, that it won't automatically kick in. So if Pennsylvania is doing it where everybody that's 100% disabled has no property tax, or if it's whatever the amount, it is possible to qualify them without that and then be able to purchase more. Yeah,
Awesome.
that'd be the lender though that would know if that's going to be able to work in that area.
Great info. Thank you so much.
Is there a way for veterans' children to benefit in purchasing real estate in any capacity?
No, not really. The requirements for occupancy can be fulfilled by a spouse, but that's about the farthest out. So let's say if there's a service member who's overseas, they're there for the next year, but back home, spouse is wanting to buy a house. It is possible for them to buy, and they get that specific power of attorney for the address that they're buying. Basically, that'll be in the process, and they can use that VA home loan. And then the VA home loan's requirement to occupy the house within 60 days is fulfilled by the wife, or the spouse, I should say. Even though I did one for one of my buddies who was overseas, and his wife got to move in 8 months before he came back home. So it is possible for a spouse to do it, but not a child. A little like a kitty condo doesn't quite work with the VA. It's got to be the veteran or the spouse.
Okay. And now, we have several government workers that are furloughed. If a person is facing foreclosure that's a veteran, what are some of their options with that? Like, what should they do?
This is the other aspect of the VA rep is we do a lot of credit counseling. We have our credit counselors, the HUD certified credit counselors, and we do work with a lot of people that are facing foreclosure, and that's up to kind of the servicing company. We got to work with them and figure out what's available. Yeah, keeping them in obviously is primary, but sometimes we find out that the foreclosure is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of other things, and unfortunately for a lot of veterans, we take a look at everything and say, hey, it may be better to cut your losses. Let's sell this place. Let's get out of it while you still can. 12 months is all you have to do with the VA to buy again. So let's get you back on a stable footing. We'll get you in a rental. We'll pay 3, 4, 8 months, whatever you can of rent up front. Start saving your money now, and then in about a year after that foreclosure or after we've sold, short sold, whatever, you should be back on your feet and we can start looking again. But yeah, this is a tough time that it's really going to be up to the servicers or the bank that they work with to see if they can keep them afloat during this time. And just I just found out, and it's not my company, so I'm not plugging. I just found out that Rocket actually is, they've opened it up so that they will work with furloughed government employees as long as they have 2 months of PITI, the principal, interest, tax, and insurance, in reserve. So for those that are looking to buy right now, that are kind of on hold because they don't have a paycheck, they don't have that LES from the government. They're now getting to be where they can work. But I mean, obviously shut down, you know, I don't think it's gonna be on much longer. Who knows? But
Yeah,
hopefully,
prayerfully not. And I got another
fingers
question. Do
crossed.
you have any kind of a podcast, or what ways are you all marketing, and also are there opportunities for co-marketing? So let's say it's an organization, and kind of like what you were saying before, uh there was some kind of event, housing event or something like that. Do you all participate in that way as well?
Um, there is I don't think it's a regular one, but the VA Rep does have a VA Rap podcast. VARep.org, you'll be able to find it there, with information. I don't know if it's a regular thing right now. I think they just put out a lot of the information and keep it that way, but we're more than happy to do just like this. So keep information, keep this stuff. And if there's any opportunities, you want somebody to jump in and speak. And like I said, if we had that chapter out there, I mean, we'd be building out with lenders that know their stuff really well, and be great to make some connections for you guys to have some local, knowledgeable, veteran VA lenders that could come speak at your stuff and co-market and work with your clients.
Love to help you with that, Matthew.
Mhm. Yeah, it's starting a chapter. I did it out here. It takes a little work, but if you've got the desire, it's great. You just start building that community of veterans, and like Vlad will understand. I mean, we want to work with other vets, and vets are very trusting, and they like working with vets. So it's great if you've got that those connections, you've got that network, and it's open to everybody that cares. So.
Matthew, I have another question, Charlotte Bradley. When purchasing with a co-borrower that is not a vet, is there any restrictions?
Yeah, it is possible, but it's also very costly. So the way it works is the VA, the VA guarantees a loan for 25%. So if that veteran forecloses, that loan is basically guaranteed for that 25%. When it's split with somebody that's not a veteran, what they do is they say, okay, the vet will come in with no down payment, but the co-borrower has to come in with 12.5%. And it really comes out to more like 17 with all the other fees and stuff like that. So it becomes pretty costly, where now you're looking at, okay, between the two of you, you do have, one of them has VA entitlement and they could use it. The other one's not a veteran. Maybe it's best to just look at a conventional, because you can probably come in with a lot less cash between the two of you than if you were to go with the VA. Because like I said, without that guarantee, they've got to come in with pretty high percentage. So 12.5, 15% of a, $300,000 house, or you go conventional and you're getting away with, 3 to 5%. It's a lot easier.
So it's better if the active duty or vet qualifies to get the loan themselves.
Yeah. And I've seen that too, where you say, well, we can put this person on the loan, but now this is the down payment required. However, if you have enough, income, can qualify by yourself, and then put them on title instead, if that's the way you want to go about it. But that way there's no down payment. The times that you find split VA and non-VA or non-veteran, I've seen it with like a dad that's a vet and a daughter, and they're going to buy a house together, move in, and they both sold houses, and there's plenty of cash in the picture. They're going to put $250,000 down anyway. They're way past the percentage. So sure, we can see if the VA offers a better rate at that point, because there's going to be that much cash in either way. But if they're looking to get in with minimal down payment, it often turns out that the conventional is going to be the better way to do it, as long as they qualify.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mhm. I've also had a vet and his fiance go get married in the process so that she could be on the loan. Sometimes you just gotta, hey, let's just go do it. And they were fine with it. So
Smart woman.
anything else, I'm more than happy to answer any questions you guys have.
I don't see any more questions, excuse me, in the chat. Vladimir, you want to close us out?
Sure. So thank you, Matthew. We'll share the information as you told us. Everybody, for more information on the City Philadelphia Veteran Advisory Commission, you can be found at phlveterans.com or 215-686-3357. To learn more about your VA rep, you can visit varep.net. Matthew, just jump in there and let me know if I'm saying any wrong information, I guess. Additionally, there's links on chat for real estate professionals, VA home loan toolkits, and military MRP relocation certifications are available through NAR. Got any last words? You want to?
VRep.org is the new one. The
Okay.
VRep.net, I think, will still redirect you, but yeah, just VRep.org. It's a really nice website. If you guys go there and visit and see what's there, yeah, send any questions you got in our way, and we'll hopefully be able to maybe build that bridge.
Yeah, and hope appreciate you coming out for helping us today, and hopefully we can get that chapter started over here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Matthew. And I want to give a special thanks to Vladimir and also Lexi, our staff liaison for the diversity committee, and also our staff that's on the call. Thank you all and our members for supporting us, because this is a very important organization and a very important group of people that we want to serve as well. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.